Now listen to the prologue of the book Sky in Pieces by the author Adriano Everton. The following events take place a year before the main story. Follow along. Cobi was not one of those who were friends with numbers, especially when they mixed with letters, and the matter got worse when the letters were in another language. It was less than 20 minutes before the end of the exam time, and both his assessment and his blur sheets remained unknown to his pens. One by one, his colleagues left the room and handed the test to the teacher, Miss Rosalie, who worked on production on test days. Her joviality, coupled with the care with the costume, increased the temperature of the hormone cauldron of a 7th grade class. Her importance to the class was so great that even some symbiotic figures at the back of the room reversed her position and performance in that discipline. Cobi was unaffected by this and maintained his regularity of averages very close to 7 in that discipline, as well as in all the others he studied at the Centro das Educacional Distrito dos Anjos, located in the district of Anjos itself. The test time was toasting in the heat of the sun around noon, and he was passive while the class had its proportion of empty seats more and more numerous, and he thought, "Can I start now?" 2 chairs behind him was his friend Sophonias, who even the professors called Safo. Agitated, he treated each calculation as a work of art, so much at his whim, as much as he wrote. It seemed that he did twice the number of calculations sufficient to solve each question, and when the last quotient was found, the excitement made him take the pen upwards, just as many artists do with his last stroke. The emotion made the arrangement of his materials a bit noisy, as well as his steps between the desks, and for a moment the teacher undid the severity of her expression to understand that. Was the test that hard, Safo? Professor Miss Rosalie looked closely at the student's test. "Yeah, you worked really hard. I liked the test. I just hope he likes me." That's right, the professor made a smile. "And where's your blot?" "Geez." Safo slapped himself on the forehead with his right hand. "I threw it in the trash." "Was it to be delivered? And how do I know how you did the calculation?" The teacher looked suspiciously at the boy. "You will lose points." "No, teacher." Safo filled his chest with drama before he spoke. "The calculations are all on the test. You can see there." I know. I just hope your calculations don't show up in another test. Otherwise you already know. 0 for you and your grade for whoever got your answers." "I don't think my grade would be very different from that." "Okay, now you can go. It's already cleared." Safo joined others who killed the rest of the time in the corridor waiting for the next time. In the classroom, Cobi and 4 other survivors watched the teacher look at her gold wristwatch and confirm what the hands on the wall warned of. Only 10 minutes to go. One of the remnants decided to guarantee a meager point and left his test just signed on the table. The other 3 looked around for inspiration while Cobi started his calculations. In just over 7 minutes, 3 of the 5 questions were answered. The 4th question ate the other 3 minutes, and when the number 5 appeared in his view, the horn made the 4th hour give way to the 5th, and the teacher collected the tests from everyone in the classroom. The first 3 delivered the test without complaint, and when it reached Cobi's chair, negotiations began. "Hey, Cobi," the teacher touched her shoulder carefully. "I need to collect the test." "Wait a minute, teacher." "Without taking your eyes off the test." "I'll finish it. I won't expect anything. You spent the entire hour doing nothing and now you want to run." "But weren't it 2 hours?" He looked at her. "So I decided to wait." They were. "But I have another appointment now." "Cobi, give me your test." "If it's 2 hours, I have the right to take the test in 2. "Boy, stop messing around. I already got it right with Dantas and he will be teaching next time, but you should be right with us and not with him." Cobi mocked the teacher. "So, okay, if you have the right to take the test in 2 hours, I can give you 0, and I want to see what explanation you will give to your aunt when she asks me. Wait a minute, just one more question here. Cobi looks at the test again. Will not be long, boy. A vein popped on the teacher's forehead. If that test isn't in my hand until I get to the teacher's room, it's 0 and suspension. Do you understand? The lady is clear when she is calm. When she gets angry she turns red. He held back the laughter. Did you hear me? The teacher left the class, and Cobi was left alone in the 5th desk in the 3rd row. But did it have to have that many numbers? He pressed the writing and put numbers on the paper with the same speed as the lunge of a fencer who fought for his life. Only Safo remained at the door of the class, who followed everything with his teeth showing so much concern. The friend came in, went out and repeated the whole process again and again. Other colleagues also showed up at the door to check out the scene, and then you could hear laughter and other boring jokes loudly down the hall. There were only a few lines missing for the 5th question, and Cobi did it without much haste because he had an asset in his favor. However, Safo decided to update the information. Cobi, she's finished talking to Paranhos. Okay, I'm done here already. Cobi dropped his purse and pens and ran through the maze of chairs to the living room door. The door was ajar, and as one of its hinges had met the stranger, the door was practically hanging and required twice the strength to be moved. Few were able to handle it properly, so much so that the floor carried the scar so often that the piece of wood was dragged, without lifting the latch correctly. He made that irritating noise to facilitate his passage, but right in front of Safo's bulging eyes, the boy disappeared under the arch of the door. Right in front of the teacher's room there was a private bathroom for the teachers. A Cobi appeared from the half-open door and found it strange to be in that part of the school. How did I get here? Oh no, it started again. As the next schedule had already started, the teacher's room was empty, and at the entrance, behind her, was Professor Rosalie. She was just under a step away from the deadline, and at the same time that the approach was beginning the boy looked at the teacher from his heels squeezed and heels to his hair clip and felt something different, something he could not leave to express. Teacher. He touched her on the shoulder and was frightened by the angry face with which she received him. Here's the proof. Just in time. Huh, where's the blur? It's all here. He handed the evidence over to her. It proves with the calculations, and the blurs. It is delivered. Now it runs that Dantas does not tolerate delay. Okay. Cobi hurried out, but decided to return. Yeah. Teacher, can I say something? Take it easy. You won't lose points. It wasn't that, it's just for you to be calm because everything will be fine with your father's surgery. Cobi fired the words as if she needed to throw something away. Don't be afraid, he'll be fine. But boy, how do you know that? Ah. Yeah, I heard you talking to Paranhos about it. Cobi answered the same way he answered his tests. Ah well, thank you very much. Now go back to the classroom. Cobi nodded and took off in light steps back to the class and walked around the school. The building occupied a good area of the district and was dedicated to students from the 5th to the 8th grade, operated in the 3 shifts and still had a sports court. After descending the 3 steps that separated the boardrooms from the rooms of the smaller series of the canteen, bathroom, and finally the wing of the larger series, he found Safo, who first let himself be overtaken by his friend, then followed him up the other staircase without saying anything, and when they reached the class corridor, he said, "What was that?" He asked in amazement. "You disappeared right in front of me." "I saw it right." He pulled Cobi by the sleeve. "Dude, say something. Didn't you see what you did?" "You didn't see it." Cobi shook his head. "It took a year to get the answers out and there was a lot wrong." "What?" He pushed Cobi against the wall. "What was wrong?" "A couple of questions, I think." He stepped out of peer pressure and headed for the classroom. If I did like I said we would get 10, now you will have 5, lucky 6, I do not believe. Astonished Safo, hey, wait a minute, he took his colleague by the sleeve again, you didn't explain that to me. What? Your disappearance? And how did you come to the teacher's bathroom? This is something I can't even explain. Cobi, trembling, scratched the back of his neck with his teeth bared and without a smile. Did I ever tell you that I showed up elsewhere? Tell me again. Before I didn't believe it. The two passed into the classroom and left the hall completely empty. Before each room there was a mural with notices, government advertisements and other advertisements. On all the school murals that week, posters with high-quality graphics were posted that announced the main event in the entire district of Angels. The event was of a religious nature and every year brought together thousands of people to celebrate the miracle that supposedly took place in that region. The announcement said that next Saturday the 49th procession of angels would be held. To be continued. Did you miss a chapter? Follow our playlist with all the chapters. Did you like the text? Get the digital version at the link in the description. Leave your like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for listening the chapter.